The office lights on the 23rd floor always dimmed automatically at 10 p.m. Everyone hated it except me. The darkness made the endless spreadsheets feel softer somehow. It made the city outside the glass walls look beautiful instead of lonely. And most importantly, it meant almost everyone had gone home. Everyone except her, my boss, Grace Laurent, or GL, as the entire company secretly called her. Grace was the kind of woman people straightened their backs around. Sharp black blazers, perfect posture, calm voice, never flustered, never late, never emotional. At 29, she was already the youngest creative director in our company's history. At 24, I was still trying to figure out how to stop sending emails with typo corrections 2 minutes later. So naturally, I tried my best to avoid embarrassing myself in front of her. Unfortunately, life had other plans. That night, I was exhausted. I had spent 11 straight hours preparing presentation drafts for a luxury skincare campaign Grace wanted finalized before Monday. My eyes burned. My brain was fried. And while packing my laptop into my bag, I accidentally sent a text. Not to my best friend, to Grace. I didn't realize it until the message delivered. I stared at the screen. Then my soul left my body. Me. I swear if GL asks for one more revision tonight, I'm going to fake my own death. 3 dots appeared instantly. I nearly threw my phone across the office. Then came her reply. Grace. Interesting strategy. Would the funeral be held before or after the campaign launch? I froze. Heat rushed to my face. I typed, deleted, typed again, deleted again. Finally, me. Oh my God, I am so sorry. That was meant for my friend. Another pause. Then, Grace. Disappointing. I was curious about the funeral theme. I blinked. Was she joking? Grace Laurent joking felt like seeing a wolf smile. Dangerous, unexpected, weirdly attractive. I swallowed hard. Me. Black roses. Dramatic violin music. Open bar. This time she took longer to reply. Grace. At least you're committed to the bit. I laughed out loud in the empty office, and just like that, something shifted. The next morning, I avoided eye contact with Grace during the team meeting. She didn't mention the text, not once. But as everyone packed up to leave the conference room, she walked past me and quietly placed a coffee beside my notebook. Triple shot vanilla latte. My exact order. You looked sleep-deprived, she said simply. Then she walked away. I stared at the coffee for a full 10 seconds. How are you still alive? My coworker Mia whispered dramatically. I don't know. But I knew one thing. My heartbeat had become a problem. The late-night texts continued after that. At first, they were work-related. Tiny comments about edits, presentation notes, schedule changes. But slowly, they became something else. Grace. Why are you still awake? Me. Anxiety. Grace. Reasonable. Or, me. Do you ever stop working? Grace. Do you? And somehow around 1 a.m. on a rainy Thursday, we started talking about music. Then childhood memories. Then fears. Then dreams. I learned Grace played piano when she couldn't sleep. That she hated strawberries. That she secretly loved terrible reality dating shows. That she had spent years building walls so nobody would ever think she was weak. And she learned things about me too. Things I normally hid. Like how scared I was of failing. How badly I wanted people to take me seriously. How lonely the city sometimes felt. Some nights we texted until sunrise. At work, though, nothing changed. Or at least, that's what we pretended. She remained composed and professional. I remained the junior designer trying not to stare too long. But then came the business trip, and everything got worse. The hotel only had one room left. Classic disaster, classic terrible luck, classic romantic comedy setup. There's a couch, Grace said calmly at the front desk. I can sleep there. No way, I said instantly. You're my boss. One of us needs proper sleep before tomorrow's client pitch. And that should be you. Her eyes lifted toward mine. That's not what I was implying. My stomach flipped. The room was beautiful. One giant bed, one couch, one bathroom, one very dangerous amount of tension. I changed in the bathroom and emerged wearing oversized sleep shorts and a hoodie. Grace looked up from her laptop and forgot how to speak. That was the first time I'd ever seen her lose composure. "You okay?" I asked carefully. "Yes." Pause. "No." I tried not to smile. "Interesting." She closed her laptop slowly. "You're enjoying this?" "A little." For a moment, neither of us moved. Rain tapped softly against the hotel windows. The city lights glowed gold across her face. And suddenly, the air felt too small, too warm, too full of things we weren't saying. Grace stood, walked toward me, stopped close enough that I could smell her perfume, clean, warm, dangerously addictive. "You should sleep," she said quietly, but her eyes dropped to my lips and stayed there. My breath caught. Grace. That name sounded different now. Not formal, not professional, personal. She closed her eyes briefly like she was fighting herself. "We shouldn't do this." "Probably not." Neither of us stepped away. Then my phone rang. We both jumped apart instantly. Mia's name flashed across the screen. The universe clearly hated me. After the trip, things became impossible. The tension, the glances, the lingering silence whenever we stood too close. It felt like balancing on the edge of something enormous and terrifying. Then one Friday night, the office elevator got stuck. Of course it did, because apparently fate had no chill. The emergency lights glowed dim red inside the small space. I leaned against the wall. Grace stood beside me, surprisingly calm. "You know," I muttered, "this feels like a lawsuit waiting to happen." She laughed softly. Actually laughed. The sound hit me harder than it should have. "You're nervous," she observed. "I'm trapped in a metal box with my extremely attractive boss. What gave it away?" Silence. I realized what I'd said. My eyes widened. Grace looked at me carefully, then very slowly smiled. "Extremely attractive?" I covered my face. "I'm going to pass away now." "No funeral theme this time?" I groaned. She gently pulled my hands away from my face, and suddenly her fingers stayed there, warm against my skin. The air shifted. Again. Always again with her. "Do you know how hard this has been for me?" she asked quietly. I looked up. Grace rarely looked uncertain, but now she looked terrified. "I tried to ignore it," she admitted. "Tried to keep boundaries, tried to convince myself it was temporary. My heart pounded painfully, but every night I wait for your texts." The elevator hummed softly around us. "You do?" I whispered. Her thumb brushed my cheek. "Yes." That single word shattered whatever self-control I had left. I kissed her, and Grace kissed me back like she'd been holding herself together for months, soft at first, then deeper, hungrier, like relief, like longing, like finally admitting the truth. When we pulled apart, both of us were breathless. The emergency lights painted her lips crimson. "You know," I whispered shakily, "this is definitely an HR violation." Grace laughed against my forehead. "I'll risk it." 6 months later, the office rumors were unbearable, mostly because they were true. Grace still looked terrifying in meetings, still wore immaculate blazers, still intimidated half the company. But now? Now she also sent me heart emojis during budget reviews, and left handwritten notes inside my laptop bag, and kissed me breathless in empty conference rooms. One night, long after everyone else had gone home, we sat together beside the windows overlooking the city. The lights glimmered endlessly below us. Grace rested her head against my shoulder, too full of things we weren't saying. A version of her nobody else ever got to see. Soft, safe, mine. "You know," she murmured, "one accidental text changed my entire life." I smiled. "Mine too." Then she looked up at me with that same expression she'd had in the elevator, the one that still made my chest ache. "What if you'd never sent it?" I kissed her slowly. Then I think we both would have stayed lonely a little longer. If you liked the story, do like and subscribe to my channel and put a comment below so that I can understand what my audience loved, disliked about the video. Thanks a ton.